The hosts, Les Bleus, love playing in Marseille. It's France, Georgia at the Stade Velodrome with Will Greenwood and John Champion.
The search for redemption continues. 3 weeks of recrimination and self-examination. No one does it more publicly than the French. And now this, on the most perfect autumn afternoon, with the Mistral a cooling influence, the chance to play in their favourite stadium in front of 60,000 devotees. The chance to exercise a few more of those ugly memories from the tournament's opening night. They've been playing catch-up ever since. They may never catch up, but if it is to be New Zealand in Cardiff in the quarter-final, then they need to go there off the back of a convincing performance here. And standing in their way, a nation that in rugby terms at least has come of age over the last 3 weeks. Serge Betson's men facing Georgia, rugged and robust, bruising and bolshy, and still amazingly in with the slimmest of outside chances of qualifying themselves. And no pressure for France. Sarkozy has turned up though, a man who leapt aboard the bandwagon to start with, leapt off it after they'd lost against Argentina, and now is wondering whether to jump back aboard again. The French have been milling around outside the stadium for most of the morning, chewing anxiously on their delicious baguettes, sipping nervously at their coffee in the many roadside bars. Only one topic of conversation. Can they do it? Can they avoid the All Blacks in the quarter-final? And of course the frustration for them is that it's not really in their hands. All they can do is to win here, and to win well, and to hope, and to put on their green scarves, and to support Ireland as they take to the Parc des Princes pitch a little later in the day against Argentina. And so to the anthems. It'll be Georgia's first, to be followed then by the incomparable Marseillaise.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand with the national anthems for Georgia and France, recorded by the Republican Guard, French Army Choir, interpreted today at the Stade Velodrome by Senior Marseillaise in sign language.
The song of the revolutionary force that marched on Paris. Now the French would much prefer to march on Paris rather than on Cardiff, but that's not entirely in their hands. "60,000 people packed in. And France's team selection in part, an admission that winning their group is probably beyond them. 9 changes from the squad that saw off the Irish, and important second chances for those dropped after the Argentina defeat, namely Josion, Mignoni and Dominici. Lionel Boxis offers Michalak a rest at fly half. Sale's Sebastian Bruno is in for the first time. Georgia have the unenviable task of playing a second game in 5 days, so injuries have made a hefty contribution to their 7 changes. All but one of these players earn a living in France. 6 of the pack are over 30, so they've been around a few blocks and possibly through a few too. They don't mess about. Alan Lewis, the man who runs an insurance company in Dublin, he is also Ireland's most capped cricketer. So the scene is set. Okay. The Mistral blowing in will have an effect. We'll see what effect as the game unfolds. As the only team with more French-based players than France stand in the way of the hosts. And we mustn't forget that whilst the inevitable focus is on Ireland, on Argentina and on France, Georgia can still qualify. And that in itself is a remarkable tribute to their efforts here. Will Greenwood is sitting alongside me. Well, it's a stadium full of emotion. What are you expecting from the French in particular today?
Job done, win it, respect the Georgians, and then leg it to a television and stick your Irish scarf on. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've all managed to persuade Mum to bring Sunday lunch forward so you can enjoy the action this afternoon. 4 hours will decide where 3 of the top 6 ranked teams in the world will go. Cardiff, Paris, and for one, the unthinkable dumped out of Rugby World Cup 2007.
We don't have a camera on our commentary position. Many of you will say, thankfully I can reveal that Will Greenwood is wearing green today. France looking to stamp the first mark on this game. Their final fixture in Pool D of their Rugby World Cup. And standing in the way, the most obdurate of opponents in Georgia, but do they have another game left in them? Mignoni. Boxis. This is David Marty straightening up.
Roll away. Hands off. Hands off. Play on.
And Georgia managed to seize the ball back through Urashadze. Number of late changes in the Georgian lineup. They named a team on Friday which they hoped they could field, that they would all be fit, but they've lost Flanka Labadze to flu and Gogodze, their important second rower, to a knee problem.
See Mignoni starting as he did against the Argentines, poorly. They want to cut out those errors. Laporte's given him a chance, hasn't he? You described that rightly. And Josion, Rougerie, Dominici, chaps who were dumped unceremoniously after that abject performance against the Argentines. And tonight, whilst unlikely to appear next week in the quarter-final, it gives them a chance of salvation in the front of the French eyes.
Here is Josion. Serge Betson, captain for the day. Now it's Jerome Tillon. Advantage here for France. Nianga. Referee will take it back for the penalty.
Yeah, you have to wonder whether it is a game too far for the Georgians. After a wonderful World Cup, the coach Shashvili has had an incredible time rotating his squad, achieving his goals. They wanted to win one game. They've done far more than that. They've won the hearts of the rugby world with performances against both Ireland and Argentina that were sensational, bordering on the superhuman, and then a wonderful victory against the Namibians to record their first World Cup victory. But then so soon after, they meet the French in Marseille, a French team that they know must win with bonus points to give themselves a chance of going to Paris next week.
This is Lionel Boxis. Giving France the lead that the crowd so desired.
A prodigious boot on him, Boxis. You saw from the restart, it was his clearance from 5 metres from his own line that ended up with a line out deep in Georgian territory, and there just nonchalantly strikes it over. Based at Stade Francais, often starts behind Scrella in club and for country.
Scrella on the French bench today. He's the man who skippered the French to the under-21 world title last year. Man of the match in the final.
Not afraid to simply club it. Backs his boot, backs his timing. Under pressure, wallop. Bit of right to left draw.
So Georgian line out, into which Aksventi Jorgadze will throw.
Yeah, the Georgian performance has been built around the backbone of their hooker, Jorgadze, the big second row is not playing today, Gogodze, the number 8, and the halfbacks who played in all 3 games. Around them, Shashvili's rotated. Everyone has stepped in manfully. Abasarigi at scrum half, today's captain. It's been wonderful all tournament.
And it's Abasarigi's kick. You could see the effect that the Mistral had on that. Mignoni, Boxis. Josian finds a gap. 2 men over to his right-hand side. This is Poitrino, the fullback. Scoots clear for the first try.
All about Yannick Josian. He's been questioned. How good's his form been? Try has taken the starting berth in the big game against Ireland. He's been questioned and he just coasted. He let the ball be an extra attacker. He used it almost as an extra pass by drifting down the flight of the ball. The Georgian defender was focused on the ball. Watch Josian just drift outside, uses the decoy runner, inside to outside. Pass to Poitrino. Poitrino's nailed down the fullback berth after Heyman's horrific opening night. That's Josian at his best. Ball in 2 hands. Look, looking left, looking right, surveying his options, never looking as though he's running in more than 3rd gear. He'll be desperate to get a starting position if they make the quarterfinals.
So from the other side this time, Lionel Boxis. Similarly accurate, and France have a comfortable margin. They lead 10-0.
Perfect start for Laporte. There's the final pass to Poitrino, an easy run in for the fullback. Toulouse to Toulouse it is there. Josian to Poitrino. The Galacticos of European club rugby.
Knee, it's okay.
And the knee of Chikaidze, so no knock on. These 2 sides have never met before in international competition.
Whatever the result, though, the French will remember playing the Georgians. They are a big, physical, tough side who have given everything for their country in this World Cup.
They have the heavier pack. They have a vastly experienced pack as well, 6 of them over the age of 30. But it's France who are disrupting.
Players like Bruno have been given their opportunity today. They haven't played so far in the World Cup, and they're going to take it. De Villiers rested, but still a big, strong front row. Toulouse not required. Chabal, the cheer that greeted him when he was just in his tracksuit to watch the game, shows the affection the French now have for Sébastien Chabal, Seabass from Sale.
Dominici halted by the referee's whistle.
And by a rather large Kamashoritsi, who will hunt him down all day and stand nose to nose, introduce himself in a pleasant Georgian wrestling manner, and grapple.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Again, France putting the heat on. This is Urashadze.
Roll away.
Abasarigi to Kvirikashvili. And now the centre, Jorgadze, younger brother of the hooker. France have it back though, Josian. And then it came off Marty.
Yes, a good advantage from the referee. France had the advantage from the Georgian knock-on. It's their own fault they gave it back to the Georgians.
Urashadze made the half break. This is Maisaradze.
Hands off.
Piece in chorus of Allez les Bleus. Urashadze is down for Georgia at the moment, receiving treatment. Urashadze.
Roll away. On your feet.
Sort of arm wrestle the Georgians like. Close quarter, hand-to-hand combat.
Georgia.
Alan Lewis, the referee.
The last time there was no contest for the ball, but the players are flopping over. Make sure we stay up.
Yeah, they tried to work Rougerie free with quick hands. And they won't want to lose Yurakashvili. He's another man who's played in all three. Oh, that's nasty. Male dragged him down to the floor. He certainly has shaken him. We talked about the coach, Jashvili, earlier, having somewhat of a Midas touch with his Georgian team. How appropriate. The legend of King Midas is based on Georgia's very own King Mitt.
Were you up late last night?
Oh, I love stats like that. I've got a couple more for later on, don't you worry about that.
Hopefully the rugby will be so good, Will, you won't get a chance. Mignoni. Boxes. Drills it.
Another flat half, another player who will take his chance this afternoon, understanding that Michelat will come back into the fray next week, but he'll enjoy Marseille, drilling it low, authority at fly half. So important from half-back to give a side discipline, structure. You saw the way Gomersall and Wilkinson have begun to play for England, giving them a platform, giving players an understanding of where to go next, playing in the right parts of the field.
It's Urashadze that takes. And Georgia, who generally don't understand the meaning of the phrase backward step, on the front foot. It's been a remarkable transformation for them over the past month. They came here, played a couple of warm-up games against Agen reserves and lost both of them. Look at what they've done since. Poitrenaud caught straight away. Space here for France, though, with Dominici. This is Marty, and Marty is taken down by Jogadze.
Zirakashvili, the prop, didn't he do well? He's just slowed him up. You thought Poitrenaud might get smashed man and ball, but they worked it well. Rougerie to Josian Dominici. Look at that ball, wonderful in front of Marty, and that's the prop doing enough and allowing Jogadze, the hooker's brother, to come in and smash him into touch. They will want or lack for nothing in effort.
Again, they secure their own line-out ball. Important that they did. Go back to Kvirikashvili.
If a couple of his drop goals had gone over, who knows? Perhaps Ireland wouldn't have even had a chance this afternoon. 14-10 it was in Bordeaux. What a wonderful game that was. Georgia held up over the Irish line, weren't they, in injury time. Eddie O'Sullivan might have preceded Gareth Jenkins.
Despite his new 4-year contract. Mignoni. Boxes.
They're doing the basics very well at the moment, France.
This is Sebastian Bruno.
Hands off! Leave it! Leave it!
And Georgia have the ball. Just hoofed downfield by Kamasuridze.
Very competitive at the breakdown, Georgia. You must commit numbers, you must look after the ball, do not think about the phase afterwards.
And taken by the hooker, Aksventi Jogadze.
A wonderful take in this breeze. Most hookers normally agoraphobic and hiding behind someone.
Hands on, hands on.
Bonner. Barkalaya. This time it's Boxes.
No, it's okay. He's held his ground.
Poitrenaud.
Boxers is having a dream start. There's Kvirikashvili with his left foot. Not quite getting the purchase on that he'd like. But Boxers, everything he's touching at the moment, working nicely. Good left knee lead, turning sideways, so had he dropped it, would have gone backwards. That's a good clatter from Makral Velidze. Interesting quote from him this week. Sport is where dreams come true.
And they have, en masse, for the Georgians here. To the point where their president back home has promised unheard of funding for the development of the game, including a new national rugby stadium, which will be the first designated rugby ground in the country.
Pretty impressive considering they only have 8 rugby pitches at the moment.
Absolutely. And they had to choose a squad of 30, basically from a pool of maybe 500 players.
Incredible organisation and discipline that the coach has brought to them in a short period of time. And his squad rotation, you'd think when a size of country with so few players rests their star players, you'd think their performance would drop off so big. But look at that physicality, look at the winning of the contact by Mazuradze, who had a monster game against the Irish. Betson has been Betsoned. Always tough for a fly half kicking into the wind when you bang in the middle of the field. You just don't know which side to go to. Done well.
Kvirikashvili in the centre there, former Soviet scrum half in his playing days, but now very much the esteemed coach of Georgia, the man who's helped them make the breakthrough. And in their second World Cup, lost all 4 games in Australia 4 years ago, only scored 1 try. But here, happily for them, a very different story.
The set piece in their line-out started okay. The scrum a bit shaky.
Kvirikashvili just got it away before Betson's arrival.
And a yard too far, unfortunately, under serious pressure from Betson and Nyanga. 2 flyers in the back row. Betson retaining his place after the Irish game, as does Bonaire, Laporte's go-to man in the back row. Whilst Nyanga looks like a like-for-like replacement with Dusautoir. Pace and skill, loving it in the open spaces.
Nyanga's take.
Very athletic in the lineup, both Dusautoir and Nyanga. So springy.
Bruno with the ball. Referee awards France the penalty.
Yeah, blatant collapse, and the referee will have a quiet word with Dubadilidze. They'll miss Gorgodze in the second row. He's been a rock, a giant rock.
And his partner, of course, was the skipper, Zed Ganitsa, in the game that we enjoyed against Ireland, who had announced he was going to retire at the end of the tournament to pursue his career as a lawyer, but sadly shattered his kneecap in that game and, of course, hasn't been able to play since.
Yeah, great shame for them to be missing their starting locks. So physical against both Argentina and Ireland. But when it comes to the Georgians, one giant man replaces another giant man.
Here's Boxis then. The crowd gave the decision before the flags of the touch judges.
Slight disapproval when Boxis went for the kick, but I think that France are doing it the right way. They're trying to build a score. Kvirikashvili talked about Georgia being aggressive on the ball, but playing wide as well. And if they find themselves a long way down, they'll want to play a little bit and chase the game. And France's discipline in defence will then look to pick them off, turnovers, and strike from deep.
Bruno palms it back. Georgia turned the ball over. This is Urashadze and now Maisaradze. Abasuridze, Kvirikashvili, Gigauri. And it's Georgia's turn to have a penalty. And they decide on the quick tap through Abasuridze, who brushes Betson out of the way.
got another penalty as well. RWC keen to lift the tempo of the game. And then look at the lack of width, but they're not afraid, they're not ashamed of how they play. Like the Argentines, they're going to play a certain way, and it's effective for them.
Referee has gone back for the penalty for failing to roll away.
Roll away after the tackle. Very quick. I ask you to move.
Reminds me of the great Irish quote, spread out in a bunch. That's what the Georgians do.
And then the centre.
Well, they have been desperately difficult to break down, both physically and mentally, in this tournament. And this time, Kvirikashvili has decided he'll go for the 3 points.
Always good to get an opportunity to get points on the board. RWC chose right to tap and go. The French hadn't retreated 10. He pushes off Betson. Seems to have lost a bit of his balance without his scrum cap. It gives this opportunity for Kvirikashvili to get the Georgians into the game.
Well, this is an interesting cultural shift. Sheen from the crowd, so as not to distract the Georgian kicker. Not been entirely successful, the plea. The clapping is more in support of Kvirikashvili than anything else, but he's pushed it wide.
A shame, just slid it past the left-hand upright.
That's perfect. The clock is perfect.
Disappointment. The Georgian coaching team, they know they won't get many opportunities today.
Some of them with possibly mixed emotions, in that a number of the leading members of staff are French. Nicolas Foulquier, the conditioner, physio, Laurence Guides. And the French Federation down the years have given plenty of support to Georgian rugby. Mignoni. Kicking and chasing, across comes the fullback Barkalaya, who's not needed.
Has he pulled his hamstring?
He has, he's pulled up. And that is not wildly good news for France. Albeit Elissalde would come back in. Even so, they need their men on the bench.
Where does it go? Oh, yes. A Jason Robinson-style injury. He's just felt it. Tremendous athlete, Mignoni. Very quick, very powerful. Not dissimilar in stature to Jason Robinson. Sprinter, very quick over 10, 15 metres.
Well, Mignoni was dropped after that awful opening night against Argentina. Laporte very public in saying that he had been dropped. He wasn't injured at that stage. Now he is injured. And Jean-Baptiste Elissalde is coming on to replace him.
Not giving Mignoni a chance. The ice has come out, that machine. It just freezes everything. Stops the bleeding, localizes it all. That's the key with those injuries. You must stop the bleeding. Rest, ice, compression and elevation they talk about. Rice. Not heat, alcohol, running or harm. Or massage, sorry, for harm. Very simple anecdote to remember.
Oh, a juggle and a drop by Quattrino.
Yeah, they've just taken the foot off the gas a little bit, the French. Errors have slipped in. Quattrino prone to those sort of errors. Brilliant one and disaster around the corner, but he's been solid in the big game against Ireland, and he really has nailed down that fullback jersey.
Centre, yeah.
Picked up by the number 8, Chakaidze.
4 away.
Kvirikashvili. Backwards.
Release!
Miu was in there quickly, sensing a turnover. The Georgians have done well to maintain it. And leading from the front again goes Jorgadze.
Virtually all the Georgian players with wide experience of French conditions, but much of that experience has come in the regional leagues, the 3rd and 4th divisions. There's 4 of them from the top 14. Crossing, spotted by Alan Lewis.
Yeah, Jorgadze and Gagari just getting it wrong. Gagari wanted the short ball, he wanted the hit up, comes on the big smash. Whether it's right or wrong, the inside centre must release there. The decision has been made by the outside centre, right or wrong. But if you keep hold of it and run in behind him, it's always going to be a penalty, and give Boxes, with his giant right boot, an opportunity to go for what, 53, 54-metre kick.
Well, there is Mignoni being ushered around the apron of the pitch, weak to recover.
They've left out a wonderful scrum half, a man called Yashvili.
He would have enjoyed today, of all days.
Yeah, his Georgian parentage, hasn't he?
And his brother played for Georgia at the last World Cup.
And a player of whom I am a massive fan, Dimitri Yashvili. The magician of Biarritz.
So Boxis, with the wind as a help, not a hindrance, makes it, nails it.
The crowd unhappy with the decision to take the kick, but applauding a monster kick. Bang on his distance, 53. Wouldn't have carried by much more. Always intrigued today by the touch judge, who sees it go over, has to check with his other touch judge just to make sure. Why? You just stood and watched it go over.
Incapable of independent thought, Will.
How's the bloke stood 20 yards behind going to help you decide whether it carried over the post or not?
Well, they're a team, aren't they, the officials?
Sorry, they've done well in this World Cup. All the officials. Alan Roland, been at the top of my list.
Touch, pause, engage.
Of course, helps having played international rugby, not a requirement.
No.
3 caps for Ireland, a big help, though.
Gives you a little bit of empathy about what's going on. And again, with the referee today, whilst not a rugby player, an international cricketer, again, someone who understands what's going through players' mind, the frustrations.
No.
There is the letter of the law, of course,
My fault.
but there has to be an understanding about what is going on around you.
Come closer.
Occasionally that's lost.
Crouch, touch, pause, engage.
Elisald with the put-in. Picked up by Bonaire at the base.
And release him.
There's the man with the big boot, Boxis. That is prodigious.
That was a Happy Gilmore. He just ran at it, lobbed it in the air. 3-yard run-up, American football style. Oh, fantastic. What a platform. Right, Tion and Nale have to now earn their crust in the second row. They have to try and nick a line out.
Well, before they do that, I can tell you that following this game, we've got live coverage of Ireland against Argentina here on ITV1. Kick-off is at 4 o'clock. And then this evening, the final pool game pits South Africa against the United States in Montpellier, live on ITV4 from 6:30.
For which the South Africans have rolled out their Team A, haven't they? Going to build up to the Fijian game next week, giving their opening side a run out.
Team B didn't fare too well last weekend.
Tongans gave them a scare, didn't they? That's it, the French competing, making the ball nasty. Abassaridze for once, unsure of what's going on, and the ball is turned over. On comes Elisald, what a player. Against Namibia, sensational.
And they're retaining it momentarily. And then Elisald is scragged by his opposite number, Abassaridze. And Georgia have it.
Not a good platform when you come on as a scrum half. The ball squirts out the back. And a Georgian scrum half who's just been turned over, desperate to get it back again.
Elisald. Dominici. This is Josian. Good hands. Betson to Bruno. And then it rather goes awry for the French. Dominici, met by Maisaradze. Again, he manages to offload in the tackle to Josian.
Oh, spectacular. Accidental, but spectacular.
Clear French penalty.
12.
And they tap and go to Elisald. That's a trip.
He's off.
This is seriously bad news for Mamuka Magrak-Velidze. 10 minutes in the bin.
Interesting one. Trip, blatant, in front of the referee. Elisal off and running.
Would you have gone red, not yellow?
Perhaps in the 3 or 4 seconds he's had as he's gone to his pocket, he's considered the implications. But a blatant trip like that, I mean, Phil Vickery, for a trip, had to miss 2 games. It's equivalent of a sending off. I think the minimum's 4 weeks. Here's Dominici running it back. Squeezes through, small frame, gets to Josian, always in support, likes to run up the middle of the field. Josian picks things up.
So, attacking line-out for France against the 14 men of Georgia. Georgia also have a man down injured at the moment, so effectively they're reduced to 13. And here's Nyanga on the short side, the blind side. And France have another try to add to their tally.
Yes.
Few further celebrations.
Not only were they missing the prop who'd just been sin-bin, but also Abbasaridze, the captain, the scrum half, who would have been in that channel. That's the scrum half channel up that short side, looking after it with the hooker. Hooker was dragged in, Jorgadze, but no one else. You see the number 2 step in. He felt the drive was too powerful, and Nyanga, the door is opened. And he coasts in. And a Georgian team that has based its workload and commitment about total effort is under the cosh and in trouble. You just hope that Abbasaridze, who's had a wonderful World Cup, isn't seriously injured as Nicky Little was last night.
Well, Nicky Little is out for 6 weeks, we learned today. This is Boxis. That's a beauty.
That's the sort of kick, that's the sort of performance that Boxis is giving at the moment that says, yeah, you might have Michalak, you might have Skrilla, but don't forget about me, Mr. Laporte. You see the hooker here, number 2 on the left-hand side of your picture, just steps in to stop the drive, but Nyanga with his explosive pace flies off round the corner.
Well, sadly, as we watch that replay, Abbasaridze has been lifted onto the stretcher. And one of Georgia's outstanding players at this World Cup is being taken straight towards the dressing room's tunnel in the corner of the ground. Sam Karadze has come on as his replacement.
Sam Karadze, who played about 70 minutes, if I remember, against Ireland. Ginger-haired Georgian. Can't imagine there are too many of them.
You wouldn't have thought, though, there were too many green-haired Tongans, would you?
No.
So 13 points so far from the boot of Boxis, the mighty boot of Lionel Boxis. And tries for Poitrenaud and Nyanga. And it bears repetition that France qualify for the quarterfinals if they win. But they will only qualify as group winners if they get a bonus point win here, and Ireland then beat Argentina by more than 7 points.
I hope we get a replay of what Elisal just did there. The reverse, out of the hand pass, 25 metres, Josian on the charge.
Now swiftly through French hands, Dominici. Crowd warming to this. Josian. One good take, one not so good. Nale eventually let it go to the floor.
Josian in the heart of everything, him and Boxis, and now Elisal. Here it is. Look at this, out the back of the hand.
Okay.
You don't see where it ended up, but one bounce straight into Josian's hand. The movement kept going. Dominici fighting above his weight, as he always has done. He's not afraid of a trip. Robinson in the World Cup semi-final. Cost him 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Georgia forced to make a change. Felice, the bald-headed prop, sent on to fill the vacancy left by the sin binning of Maghrek Velite.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Maghrek Velite said sport is where dreams come true, but it helps if you stay on the field.
Free kick, Georgia. Chakaidze. Sam Karadze. Now it's Zirakashvili, plays for one of the top French clubs, Clermont-Auvergne.
Yeah, friends with Rougerie.
Jogadza.
Hands off!
Samkaradze. No way through there.
Release!
We'll watch the wind take that almost backwards.
Well, it wasn't knocked forward, according to the referee, so Georgia can play on. Another pass out of the back of the hand, not quite as spectacular or as successful as Elissalde's. France with a player down.
Yeah, Nale hurt, was going up for that up and under.
Shvelidze.
Release!
Samkaradze to Kvirikashvili. Cross goes Poitrenaud.
It's a clever kick.
Stay 6.
Kept it in the 5-metre channel. Best case scenario, it pops out there. Worst case scenario, it dribbles down and stops just before the goal line and gives the back three of Georgia no way out. Not aiming for touch here whatsoever. Training ground routine, keep it in the 5-metre channel.
Nale is back up, having been injured.
Oh, my lord.
Surprised he's back up so quickly.
Oh, Kvirikashvili. Clermont Auvergne against his Castres counterpart. Have a bit of that, son.
Oh, it's a poor throw. Elissalde. And then the kick looking for Dominici on this near side. And Samkaradze has lost it, and he's regathered it. Shvelidze.
Crowd wanting to knock on, but as Josion tackled reserves coming off Samkaradze, it was him who ripped it out. The referee happy that it went backwards. First potential mistake by Boxes. Had Dominici been on his wavelength, he might have been a little bit flatter and expecting it, but he was deep, thinking the ball would go through the hands and therefore didn't have the pace to get there. Thought Boxes could have let that go through the hands, the way Josion's just holding runners off and picking up his support players.
Comfortably taken by Tion.
Tion, who seems to have nailed down one of those second row berths with Chabal in the other slot.
Bruno with the ball. Smuggled back to Elissalde. Now open ground for Boxes and a poor pass.
Having a poor couple of minutes, sorry. No, having a poor couple of minutes, Boxes. Poor kick, poor pass, well cleaned up.
Rougerie.
Boxes making amends by getting involved in a ruck.
Josion. It's Betson who was met just as the ball arrived. Nianga. Nale. Elissalde. Rougerie. Dominici did well to get it away. 3 men over for France. Poitrenaud doesn't want the try. How unselfish. He's allowed the moment of joy for Lionel Boxes instead.
They love cutting the angles though, Poitrenaud. You saw it was on, they love to change the direction. Perhaps thought from a standing start that he couldn't quite make it himself. I'm sure he would have done. But again, Josion's at the heart of everything. Elissalde switches play. Rougerie, a floated pass, almost intercept. Dominici does well. Nianga would have got there in the corner. But makes it look so effortless. They are the best runners of a switch in the world. I remember a try that Sadouni finished in 1994 when they beat the All Blacks. And Delague was at the heart of it. But switch after switch after switch. Players like Salah, Cambrabero, Blanco. We remember that try in 91 when they set off from behind their own post. They just instinctively know when to change direction, when to attack the inside shoulder.
Boxes to convert his own try, which he does.
There's a few players who'll be very pleased with the way their game's going. Yes, Boxes, a couple of poor touches, but a solid performance. Josion seems to be everywhere. Elisal's enjoying himself after recovering the starting shirt for number 9. I know he's missed out with Mignoni today, but purely because they've got one eye on New Zealand, surely, for next week. Nyanga's taking his chance, well, doesn't like being left out to Dusatoir.
And Boxis with his boots, 6 from 6.
And Georgian in discipline here, just starting to go. They'll hope it doesn't get any worse before half-time. Bonaire clattered well before the ball arrived.
And there's the central figure again.
Watch here, Bonaire. I mean, yes, make a nuisance of yourself, make a mess of it, make it difficult for the opposition, but you can't do that in front of the referee.
Margaret Velidze has returned from his 10 minutes in the bin. Bonaire, who jumped.
Wonderful line-out specimen. Sure, he's the brains behind the French calls. Knows where to go, when to go.
Georgia countering.
Elisal complaining. It's very difficult to know whether the second row, Michelishvili, came in from the back, came in from the side. Referee gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Nigel Owens, the touch judge, drawing the referee's attention to something.
He wants Tion taking someone out.
I didn't see the beginning of it, but you've taken him by the neck. And I'm not going to have that, okay? End of story.
Taking someone by the neck. Nigel Owens, the Welsh touch judge. Does France for indiscipline?
Half-time imminent, and we'll be getting the views from Paris during the interval of Thomas Castagned and Paul Wallace.
3 tries in the first half, 30 points to 0. France will be pretty pleased with the way things have gone. Georgia not showing the sort of structure and dynamism that they showed in previous games.
This is Chedlishvili, though, a former captain, a late call-up to the squad when Zedganitsa was injured. Samkaradze. Chase led by Kamasharidze in vain, and that will be half-time, signified by Alan Lewis, and France have a handsome lead. 3 tries, 20 points for Lionel Boxis. It's France 30, Georgia 0.
France 30, Georgia 0 in Marseille. Lionel Boxis has scored 20 of them, the RB Young Player of the Year last year, and Thomas Castagned here in Paris suggesting he might even start ahead of Michalak and Strella in the quarterfinals. Let's get the views of our commentators in Marseille on that one, of Will Greenwood and first of all John Champion.
Welcome back. It's an interesting point after a first half where he's really come to the fore. Will, what's your view on Boxis possibly over Michalak and Strella?
I think after Skrella's implosion, Boxis has leapfrogged him with just 40 minutes today. I cannot see Laporte going into the big game next week, either against New Zealand or Scotland, according to how they finished in this group, without his talisman Michalak, who's come on leaps and bounds, showed some mental strength that perhaps was lacking. He's more accustomed to the flight half berth than he was in 2003 when he played so much of his rugby at scrum half and England got to him. Boxis, who's going to restart the game, I think, is probably securing himself a set of kit for next week, but more likely than not with a number 21 on his back.
France, if they're playing New Zealand, will be hoping it's a dark blue set of kit, because they purposely gone a darker shade in the hope that as and when they meet the All Blacks, it'll be the toss of a coin to see who wears their normal kit, and There will be a clash with the black of New Zealand, so they think they have a 50-50 chance of facing the All Blacks in white, or in grey as they were at Edinburgh. Kvirikashvili's kick, fielded by Elissalde, on for the injured Mignoni, midway through the first half. Boxis, Nyanga. France starting the second period as they finish the first.
Oh, you just got to like the little touches of Elissalde. New contact was coming, just popped it off. Quick ball, early ball, so good.
Josian's kick. And Bonaire is the leading chaser. Destroys not only his Georgian opponent, but the corner flag as well.
The giant Kvirikashvili tiptoeing, trying to stay in touch. It's like watching an elephant tap dance. Here's Boxis, watch him. Does he knows where Nyanga is? Keeps eyes forward, pops it inside. Nyanga, like all good sevens, trailing the ball. Unlike Josian's kick, but showing he can do it. Gets a clatter for his good work, and look at that, right in coffin corner, nowhere to go. Bonaire does the rest, and the French crowd expect the bonus point to follow shortly.
Not quite yet, though.
But Mr. Lewis, it's consistency that teams want, and it looked as though all referees had ignored any sort of feeding. But no, that time. I know it infuriates Brian Moore, the old hooker. He demands balls to be put in straight, and quite rightly so. You don't want to take away the art of scrummaging in any way, shape or form. It's part and parcel of the game. And I apologise to Sean Fitzpatrick for once describing the scrum as simply a way of restarting a game. What I should say to forwards is just bend over and push, lads. Give us the ball.
Philippe Saint-Andre that said forwards, they're there to carry the piano, the backs are there to play it.
Piano shifters and piano players. Donkeys and artists.
I think you've gone far enough if you value your own safety, sir.
I love the front row, and I know exactly where rugby games are won and lost, and it starts and ends with them. Does that excuse me?
Just about. They also have long memories. Impromptu chorus of the Marseillaise. Won't be the last of them. Big crowds in France, wonderfully spontaneous. Just like their team when they're playing at their best. Sam Karadze, Kvirikashvili. Jorgadze has caught.
France doing everything just about okay. They're not hitting the intensity they normally hit in Marseille when they often play the Springboks or the Kiwis or even England on occasion.
Holding on, French penalty.
But strong defence, and Elissalde fancies a go.
And this is Beckson whose help is enlisted. France have only ever lost here once against Argentina back in 2004. Elissalde. Tillon. Again Elissalde, this time Dominici.
Always looking, always probing Elissalde, the rat, as he's amicably known by his pals.
Ujari.
He's probably known as the bludgeon. He's a big winger, big to stop.
His father was known as the Cube, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah, because of his shape, he played hooker for France.
Ujari has some bulk on him. Big ball carrier. In the backs, you need a mixture of players. You can't have all wonderfully talented ball players. It's good that everyone's comfortable with the ball, but you do need a mixture. As Owen often works with Heskey, you need a variation, and Rougerie brings that to the French back. So in Josian and Rougerie, you've got big guys who can create holes and people run off. And then you've got players, the impish Dominici, Poitrenaud, Marty. It always requires a balance in the backs. And you wonder whether Wales, due to injury with Parker, didn't just have the balance right yesterday, and not enough power to combat the likes of Rambeni and Umbai and De La Salle later on. Not the physical capacity to cope
Kick is by Boxis to Dominici. Dominici with a sidestep and a burst for the line. Popular score.
Not quite as selfless as Poitrino, who could have walked in. Dominici said, no, I'm a try scorer. 5 yards out. That time, Dominici on Boxis' wavelength. They weren't quite there in the first half. A pinpoint kick. The forward pass, as they call it, the drop punt, the simple step, the nice dive. See Boxy's eyes, just checked his man was there, end on end. You aim for the point of the ball, just behind the point. It drops and rotates and keeps its line. He spent hours and hours on the training field practicing that kick. And if that was a wonderful cross kick, this would be a wonderful conversion into a breeze, right of the post for the right-footed kicker, who normally drag it right to left, so it would suggest he's just tried to push it into the wind. Tough kick, the hardest kick for right-footers.
Spoils his 100% record, but still.
Can you see his eyes? Have a look here. Yeah, he just has a look. Dominici stood waiting. You have all sorts of calls for that bird, RAF, or cleverest rugby players. Something to do with going in the air. Used to call it DA after Dave Allred, who brought it to us.
There it is, there it is. Stay on.
It's France's 4th try, their bonus point try. Really, their fate is going to rest on events later this afternoon in Parc des Princes. Ireland against Argentina kicks off at 4. It is live on this channel at the conclusion of this game.
That's a big ball carry. That's Shakadze saying, I've played in 3 games, I'm going to keep my standards high.
Sankaradze.
Betson's taken a knock, they won't want to take too many risks with him. Down in the middle of the field.
Already a back rower down, Harry Nordicke carrying an injury at the moment. Dussetoir available to come in, of course. Elissalde. Dominici. Poitrino wants it outside him. And Josian guilty, I think.
The other shots to the open side flanker does well. Dominici was sniffing another. Goes on the outside arc, had Poitrino. I think Poitrino was calling for the kick in behind. There was no fullback. You see Josian right of picture enter. Oh, that's a tough call. Tough call. Georgian there standing over the ball. They talk about coming in from between the pillars, and the pillars start just behind the back foot. Half a yard either side of the ball, and you must enter rucks from there. Here's the giant Shakadze showing what he can do, and that's what hurts Betson. That's what England have lacked, that's what Wales have lacked. Big giant ball carriers to dent some holes.
Betson to Boxis to Josian. Betson a second time.
How quickly Josian gets the ball back in 2 hands. Manages the contact, shifts it back in and gets it away.
Rougerie. He couldn't get the ball away that time. And for holding on, Georgia are awarded a penalty by Alan Lewis.
Datunashvili has done extremely well. Rougerie busts the first tackle, steps out of Djurgadzis. They scramble him down, and then there the tackler, quite right, straight back to his feet. Rougerie holding on, the clear out not good enough. That's the danger perhaps for France, that you think there's so much open space, you don't win the ball. Georgia working on the basis that if France can't get the ball, they can't cut us to pieces, so committing everything to the breakdown.
Just now got a glimpse there in the corner of your shot of Švelice, number 16, and Zviad Majsoradze, number 19, coming on in place of Magret Velice and Ilya Majsoradze, no relation to the man who's replaced him. Josian. Tillon.
He's quite entitled to be there. He's the tackler.
Good
He's
committed defence by the Georgians.
You're okay.
chasing the ball. Here is Shikadze on the giant Tion. That's very, very good play.
Same again. Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage. Centre. That's better.
Bonaire. Boxis.
Dropped the alternative Marty on the right side. Similar looking fella. Doesn't often kick for Perpignan. Showing the variety. Georgians expecting it to go left and to boxes. Been calls with England with Barkley and Wilkinson, the two left footers, that perhaps they might need a right foot in there. Well, I've got to say, having played with Johnny for 5 years, I have no idea. The man landed from Mars and you had to pick which foot he was. You're a better man than me, sorry, a better alien than me. If you could spot which foot he was.
Facility emanating from the French bench. A spell of treatment for Chikaidze. He's okay now. And the women's getting up a little more now. And France steal Georgian ball at the line-out. Elisald. Boxis. Betson. Josian to Marty. Look for Dominici coming in on the angle.
Don't come in the side.
Yeah, straightened well, and then Dominici disappeared on his inside.
Betson. Marty.
Don't come in the side, 18.
And Elisald bullied out of the way, but the referee is going to take his own action.
You're just on the field. You were nearly in the side the other time, and you've come in there that time. Now, don't do it again. Don't do it again. Penalty must be bound.
Zviad Maisaradze, the naughty boy.
Too tempting though, isn't it, when you're sort of 6'4", 18 stone, 19 stone, and there's a 5'6" scrum half in front of you and the ball pops out.
No penalty is no good for you. Okay, come on, let's be strong.
Big line out now for Sebastian Bruno, who's had a good game. He knows realistically that Ibanez will come back as captain next week. And Szarzewski tends to be used as the impact player, just as Lee Mears seems to have nailed down that slot for England. A more mobile, versatile hooker.
Majestic take by Tion. Bruno at the back. Trying to benefit from the French drive, going himself. And Alan Lewis is perfectly placed.
The Georgians, by fair or foul, managed to collapse the driving maul. Bruno, just as Nyanga did in the first half, spotted a gap on the short side. Well supported, well set up, good low body angles. Driving through Bonaire and Tion at the front. Collapses. Bruno spots the reserve scrum half, Sam Karadze in front of him. Smashes over. They'll be pleased with that up at Sale Sharks. A cult hero up there. His commitment and work rate to the Sale cause.
To wait a while for his chance. His first appearance in this World Cup. Sebastian Bruno, former Pau and Béziers player.
He can be very proud of his performance so far. It's what the key is about World Cups. You don't take your chances, you sit on the bench, you wait your time.
How about that from Boxes?
An S shape, wasn't it? He knew it would come right to left with the place of his kicking, and banked on the wind just to drag it straight again. Yeah, as I say, World Cups are won by 30 players. It's the support of the 8 guys who often miss out. You have 22 on a match day squad.
You want to do a substitution, yeah?
You tend to find your first team very early.
Okay.
Full start on the restart. because a substitution was being plotted below us.
11.
Three fresh players being sent on by Georgia, led by number 17, Kopoliani. Also Elis Barashvili, who's a winger. And France too, wanting to send on Fabien Pelouse.
Switch number.
And it's Thion who's making way.
It makes sense. Thion will play next week. So Pelouse comes on, become a squad player now. Such an illustrious career for France, but surely not a first teamer after that performance against the Argentines. So long Laporte's captain. Ibn has taken over now, and I think Pelouse will see out this campaign as a reserve second row and be part of a squad that hopes to go and make Paris on October the 20th.
But the big hurdle may prove to be the insurmountable hurdle. It'll be New Zealand in Cardiff next week. And where France next go in this World Cup is not really down to them anymore. It's down to Ireland and Argentina, who step out in Paris following this game.
Yes, Laporte will be watching this game and making sure there are no more injuries, but surely he's dreaming of Irish heroics this afternoon. Get his team out of a trip to Cardiff in New Zealand. England did it the hard way in '91, having losing a game to New Zealand in the group stages. They had to go to Paris. Skinner and co did a job. Antagonised and wound the French up. But then the semi-final, of course, Gavin Hastings, who might be the record point scorer in World Cups, but he'd swap them all for those three, missed them in front of the post against England.
There does remain the prospect. France, the host nation of this Rugby World Cup, could go out of their own competition on foreign soil. Well, that's a distance away at this stage. For the neutral, it's a fascinating prospect, mouth-watering really, if it is to be New Zealand-France. Repeat of perhaps the greatest ever Rugby World Cup game back in '99.
Olivier Magne, Dominici, Richard Dort, La Maison at fly half.
Release it! Release!
New Zealand led 24-10, lost 43-31 in the semi-final. That's Uyukashvili with the drop goal attempt.
Garbajosa was a traffic policeman with Lomu. No one was interested. Philippe Benassal. Oh, that hack through Mertens, through the speculative pass to Umaga. It dropped on the floor. Magne booted it on. You thought, oh my goodness, Magne's going to go left from nowhere. The silver-haired Benassal swooped.
You can't remember it clearly, then?
Oh my goodness, I remember sitting in my front room in Leicester, Holbrook Road. We'd been sent packing the week before by De Beers in the quarter-final. And I just sat and watched the most incredible game of rugby.
Well, we're shortly going to see David Skrella for France. He's the latest to be sent forward from the bench by Laporte. Samkaradze. Down by Dominici. Virikashvili. And rarely have Georgia looked like breaking the French line. Back goes Uyukashvili. France with the advantage. Elisald.
Yeah, he's seen Dominici wide open.
Dominici was on his blocks. He's sprinting. He picks up. He scores.
Elisald picked up. The ball was bobbling like a pinball machine. Shows you on Nyanga Betson tidied it up. Came back to Elisald. Georgians in front of him. He looked left, he looked right. He spotted his pal Dominici. pinpoint kick up against Shvilidze, one-handed, a la De La Salle against Wales, outside of the boot, stepping away, rugby league, Joey Johns of Australia, well taken. A predator, Dominici.
Moves into 5th place in the all-time list of French international try scorers. It's his 25th at the age of 35.
Skrella's come on to replace Marty. I think Marty another likely to play next week, and so Skrella and Boxis, who have played 10 and 12, as we saw about earlier with Stade Francais. I'm sure Skrella will slot into the 12 position, move Josion out perhaps to 13 and allow Boxis to continue his game at fly half. Those kicks, you just kick and pose for the cameraman, as you know it's inch perfect.
Feeling rather better about life at the moment, Christophe Dominici, after his very public dropping from the French team after the opening game against Argentina. And the crowd enlivened by that as well. A couple of changes by the French. Zarzewski's replaced Sebastian Bruno, having got his try. And adding to Skrella coming on in place of Marty.
Yeah, Boxers to 10, stayed at 10, Skrella to inside centre, Josion shifted out one. Not where I feel he does his best work, but the team's requirements must at this stage.
Now those team requirements will be to continue this sort of level of performance, to notch up a few more points and to leave Marseille feeling pretty good about themselves, whatever the next challenge is to be.
You go home, pack your bags, and prepare for a nice internal flight to Paris, or welcoming in Cardiff.
Need to pack an extra layer of clothing if it's to be the Welsh city for next week's quarter-final. This tournament that started off with summer weather, even here in the south of France, now feeling distinctly autumnal.
Boot goes flying. Good clearance kick from Georgia.
I would implore you to stay with us after this game here on ITV1, because next it's Ireland needing that big win against Argentina. That kicks off at 4. And then tonight, South Africa against the USA rounds off the pool stage of the Rugby World Cup. That's live on ITV4, starting at 6:30. And in the lead-up to the quarter-finals, our website will have all the latest tournament news, itv.com/rugby.
Zarzewski, as he always does, throws into the line-out, lets the first ruck take place, then peels round and offers himself as the first ball carrier.
Rougerie. Elissalde. Boxis. Josion.
So rarely goes to deck. Admire him as a player greatly, Josion.
And now France motoring with Zarzewski. And a penalty, failing to roll away by the Georgians.
Elissalde will get his hands on the ball quickly, have a quick look. Just a little slow.
Gotta move. Gotta try to move.
If it does come to France against New Zealand in Cardiff, where would you say that the percentage chance lies for the French?
15% chance?
Really as little as that?
I do, yeah. I mean, what counts in their favour is every team that played against them in the group has stuck a second team out. So they haven't been tested, but if you go on past 12-month form, past 24-month form, their build-up, the ability that Graham Henry's had, not to just focus on the next game, as is normally the woe with New Zealand, but to build towards a World Cup. They've allowed him to lose a game, which was unheard of in the years gone by.
Be a spiky build-up if it is France-New Zealand. Laporte and Henry. Fair to say they're not wildly keen about each other. Elissalde. And France sniffing another try. Was knocked down, deliberately so.
trying the referee's patience now. He's had a word.
Next time it might be a card.
Who's the captain? Who's the captain? Now, I'm giving you every chance. Okay. I'm giving you every chance. But you must try and play within the laws. Okay. Okay? In the context of the match, I'm trying to help you. Okay?
That's right, that's what the referee's saying, Lewis. In the text of the game, he's trying to help them. He understands what's going on here.
Can Georgia resist? Elisard. Bonaire. Quickly attended to by Georgians. Two of them, led by Chukaidze. Sviat Maisaratsa as well, but here come France a second time. Drive up to the line, the plunge over the line, and another French try.
I think it's Nale at the bottom of that. Scored a couple against Namibia.
Raises the half-century for the French.
Szarzewski leads him over. There's Miu, there's Szarzewski. There's Nale in the middle of it all. The legs of the Georgians just beginning to tire. Big win against Namibia earlier in the week to pick up their first World Cup win, but to be back on duty so quickly against a French team desperate to keep their World Cup going, the momentum going, the progress they've shown since that performance against the Argentines on opening night.
Extra 2 points. It is now 7 tries for the French, and Lionel Nale with the third of his personal World Cup campaign. 54-0 the score. Still the thick end of 20 minutes to play. Serge Betsen taking a rest. It's a face that bears the scars of many years of battle. He's had more than 200 facial stitches.
About a fifth of Neil Back's paper face. Just scary where those boys put their heads. Martin taking his place. Such a good player for Stade Francais. Seemingly Laporte's first choice open side, but gave the intercept away to Borges, I think, who set Corletto off on his way, and that began the rot for the French. So another of those players from opening night who's just been given a chance tonight to bury the ghost of Stade de France.
That try by Corletto on opening night, one of only 2 that France have conceded at this World Cup. The other to Bradley Langenhoven of Namibia.
Another intercept was late on. Shows how well Dave Ellis has got their first line going. That's the defensive coach, a Yorkshireman who's the defensive coach for France and has been for years.
Come on, 18.
And who used to work with New Zealand too.
Good CV for a Yorkshireman.
And all this talk of France, New Zealand next week is not to prejudge what's going to happen at Parc des Princes.
Well, we've seen Munster before, haven't we? I know that's the provincial in the Heineken Cup at Thomond Park. They needed 4 against Gloucester. They needed 4 against Sale. And they did it. And the pack is based around the Munster core with O'Connell and Co. and Callaghan and Leamy and Horan. Guys who've been faced with a game when they've had to win with a bonus point. And they've done it.
Down by Martin. Boxis. Picked up by Kvirikashvili for Georgia.
A wonderful little pick-up that if it had been done by Gito or Major, the crowd would have been oohing, but...
France have it, though. Nianga. Remy Martin. Recently arrived and immediately on the score sheet.
Big, powerful back row. Ball turned over. Kvirikashvili did so well to pick it up, but then turned over. Ripped from him by Josion. Dominici at scrum half. Peels off through the hands. Nianga. Remy Martin. I think he had Boxis outside him. but a lot of aggression. When you dropped, and everyone reminds you what part you played in the opening night, there won't be many smiles. It's just job done. Delighted to be on the field in a French shirt, scoring a try.
France still trying to repair the damage of the opening night. Boxis across the face.
Of course, Scotland will be watching closely this afternoon, won't they? I know Jason White has come out publicly and said he'd rather play Argentina. However good Argentina are, I think Jason White knows the Scottish record. I think it's been a long time since Gavin Hastings coasted in on the post to lead Scotland to a victory there. He knows how dangerous they can be on home soil. Much rather play a neutral country, Argentina there.
Nianga. Offered it to Elisal, then decided to retain it himself. Now it is Jean-Baptiste Elisal. Julien Bonner. Zazewski.
Just offloading before contact, aren't they? Letting the ball do the work. Oh, Elisal, fantastic.
Two nice passes in quick succession. Opportunity for Dominici, who's on a hat-trick. France quickly at the breakdown, and then they rather waste the platform that they've just built for themselves.
Yeah, offloading into play. You know it's going well when they begin to stick. Toulouse in the middle of it. Elisal twice, Skrilla. Couldn't quite work the last pass clear. The Georgians still swarming around, still defending their try line. Boxers just tries to be a bit too clever.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Here comes the French surge.
Giant scrum, pressure coming through. Look, oh, he's done well to give our white ball still. Georgians have clearly collapsed it, unable to cope with the power coming through that front row. It looked as though it rotated as well. A kind decision to give Georgia the put in. See how kind the French are with this scrum.
Stand up. You go the button. No. Find over.
It's been a fascinating case study, watching the mood of the French nation, and particularly the significant portion of it interested in its rugby team. They do delight and they do despair in this country. They don't do much in between. Verikashvili's kick.
Expect a counter-attack now.
Poitrenaud. Toulouse. Zazewski brought down.
Advantage.
The referee playing advantage for Georgia. Sam Karadze.
Yeah, hustled and bustled since he came on. Done well, picked it up, saw a bit of space. They'll take the territory. The Georgians will wander over slowly. Poitrenaud's got a bit of cramp. Another minute or so killed.
Referee has called time off. Attention for Clément Poitrenaud, the Toulouse fullback. Not such reliance on the Toulouse members of the French squad tonight when they needed to get back to basics and get back on track. Off the back of the defeat by Argentina, all 10 Toulouse players were named to play in Toulouse against Namibia. France won handsomely, as they were expected to do. Started to feel a little better about themselves. Carried on the good work against Ireland. And here they've done what they would expect to do against a Georgian team who've given 3 very impressive performances at this World Cup, and this is perhaps just one game too far. Certainly given the 96 hours, that's all they've had to recover from their last outing.
Go on the Georgians, score some points. You've got a feeling the French will give them nothing. Even the referee's shouting, go, go, go.
Zviad Maisaradze, and a sympathetic referee decides that that is a Georgian score, and there is very polite applause even from the French hordes inside the Stade Velodrome. They have a soft spot for Georgia, and the smile on the Georgian face's coach says the Georgian coach's face rather says an awful lot.
Done well, the Lewis referee. Go on, tap it and go, son. Nothing less than they've deserved from this tournament. Materazzi, a big man who had a big part in the Irish game when he came off the bench as well. The coaching staff, Shashvili, delighted with his... You see the flag? I've got another stat about the flag. You see it looks like our flag. Shall I tell you why?
You're going to?
Yeah, Richard the Lionheart went over there. They've had that flag for 1,600 years. We've only had it for 900, but he liked it so much, he adopted it and took it for ours.
Now the extra points added by Oyukashvili. And you can tell that the good work of the London PR agency, retained by the Georgians to spread the word, certainly had the desired effect on Mr. Greenwood.
We haven't even got to St. George and slaying the dragon yet.
No need to get there. 8 minutes to play here, and Georgia with a moment that they can take away from this game, this occasion.
Poitrino taking a rest. Vincent Clerc scored so many tries against Namibia. He's got to be a first choice next week. Poitrino taking a rest. They don't want to risk the fullback. Hand slapping and high-fiving suggests he's okay, just a little fatigued. Injury to a Georgian, the referee's called time off.
This, of course, the stadium which is going to stage 2 of the quarter-finals next weekend. South Africa, Fiji, and before that, of course, Australia against England. And for those of you back in the UK, lucky enough to have a ticket for one or both of those games, planning to come out here, you're in for a treat. It's a terrific sporting amphitheatre.
Amazing place to play rugby. Atmosphere, open wide, you can see the mountains, you're a stone's throw from the sea. They love their rugby down here. And Australia, England in the middle of it. Well, 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have given England a prayer. Still rank outsiders, but they've got out of the group. Interesting selections for Brian Ashton this week. And there's a chance. And with a chance will come the thousands across the channel.
That's okay.
Yes, English and Scottish supporters plotting their travel arrangements for next weekend. France yet to have theirs confirmed.
I just wonder how many tickets will be back on the market from Wales, because they love a trip and they will have planned ahead. Can they face coming to Marseille for the weekend and supporting England?
Elisal. Boxis. Josion. And on the wide outside, there is pace. And still the chance for the try. Toulouse. And the kick overdone. And he was in touch. Oh, that wasn't so clever. And that is going to lead to sparks.
Yeah. Rousseau, step away. I know you're defending, but you're right in front of the referee. Remy Martin is prone on the floor.
Was it Elishvili who was the culprit?
I couldn't quite see. I was just about to admonish Vincent Clerc for a rubbish kick. Just off the ball here. What happens? Oh, he's thrown him in. It is Elishvili, 21. Aggression, tempo.
Yellow card.
Again, you saw with the American centre Emmerich, which looked like an accident, and he got 5 weeks.
Well, that wasn't an accident.
No, there was real aggression in that. He's tipped him, and he's really, just watch him. He's got him up in the air, and watch him throw him.
Just one point, though. That's number 21, Elishvili, who did that, but number 13, Gagari, has been sin-binned.
Oh, total mistaken identity.
I think Alan Lewis has got the wrong man there.
It won't make any result to the result, any difference to the result, my apologies.
Stand up.
Staggering how you can get it so wrong when it was done in open space and there are only 3 people there.
Okay, let him
Well,
up.
it won't do a great deal for Alan Lewis's chances of doing the knockout games at the business end of the tournament.
France.
Another injury.
I suppose we'll have to look in terms of Lewis. Was he on the far side? Did the call come from the touch judge? That might be in his defence.
And with the numbers so visible and so few players involved, you would have expected the touch judge to get the
Terrible
right man.
mistake. A, it should have been a red card.
Yep.
B, it was the wrong bloke.
And a pity that though that Georgia's effort in this World Cup is ending in slightly acrimonious circumstances.
Yeah, indeed, they'd done well. They'd scored the try. The substitute, Elashvili, who's gotten away with it, is still on the field. But too much aggression, without too much anger. Terrible challenge, red card. And the referees get the wrong one. Anyway, let's see if French can finish this game off with the final try.
Ellis out. Boxis, clever kick, and the regather or not? Not.
La Maison for Dort in '99 against the All Blacks, exactly the same, and Skrella's misfortune.
This man, it was clear.
The chance. Oh, attacked the ball, wouldn't bounce up for him.
Yeah, no, white ball, knock forward.
Oh, just wouldn't step up for him when it's going against you, when you've had a poor game.
Touch.
And you're chasing it.
Hey, be careful. Crouch. Touch. Pull. No. Oh!
Bruising to the end, the Georgians.
Crouch.
The good news is Remy Martin is okay. I suppose we've forgotten to check on him. He was the guy who was upended and landed on his head.
Stand up.
Mistaken identity, yes. Georgian misdemeanor, yes. Thankfully, the man is okay.
Georgia, for their indiscretions, have been treated relatively leniently, quite apart from sending the wrong man to the sin bin, because Magret Velite, who was sin bin in the first half, could well have been sent off for tripping. And Elashvili certainly should have been sent off for dumping Martin as he did. As it was Gagauri, who wasn't even involved, wasn't anywhere near, who received a yellow card.
Stay there, stay there.
Virikashvili. It's rather taken the impetus out of the game now.
Yeah, it's gone a bit flat, and I think there's a few guys, a few supporters just heading for the exits, want to get a good place in front of the television in the local bars. They know what's coming up after this.
Zazewski's throw. Caught by Nyanga. Nale driving forward. Elisau. Toulouse.
Hands off, White!
Driven on by Bonaire and Zazewski.
Just take the ball there.
Georgia a man down, of course. This is Boxis. That's Claire. And Vincent Claire taking some stopping.
Hands off, White! Hands off!
Very powerful, strong man, the little guy.
Hands off, White!
Remy Martin.
It's out, balls out, balls out.
Zazewski
Big
protecting the ball. Doing well for France. Elisald. Oh, almost an intercept.
Advantage,
Not that
yeah.
Urashadze would have gone half the length of the pitch. Rougerie. France looking for a final flourish.
Advantage over.
Wonderful ball from Josion.
Toulouse.
Used Nale as a decoy, opens it up for Nyanga.
And Bonaire on the far side deserves this try.
Taking the words right out of my mouth. Julian Bonaire has had a fantastic World Cup. the quiet man. Everyone recognises Nyanga, Dusatois, Betson, Chabal. Just goes about his business quietly. An expert in the line-out, solid at the base of the scrum, comfortable with ball in hand, and takes his try extremely well, the man from Bourgoin. Steps inside, powers away. And an unsung hero of the French team, but respected by all his counterparts and colleagues. With the last play of the game, finishes it off nicely. France have the bonus point. They don't seem to have any serious injuries. Mignoni, yes, but not first choice. Michelet can also cover scrum half. Tries scored well, passages of play put together nicely. Putting together a run of form. And now all they can do is wait.
Boxis hits it high into the heavens, and it just is taken on the breeze and drifts wide. The whistle goes. France have scored 9 tries. Lionel Boxis has had a field day with 24 points. A try and 19 points from his boot. 64 points to 7, the final score. The question for France is where next?